Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be talking about common issues bakers experience or face when they bake their red velvet cake and how to solve this problem. So sit back, make sure you watch this video till the end and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So today I'll be talking about red velvet cake. What is red velvet cake? Red velvet cake is a type of chocolate cake, but the only thing is that you add, buttermilk to the recipe, and you also add your cocoa powder or chocolate milk to the recipe, and you also add your red food coloring to the recipe. And at the end of the day, what do you have? You achieve a red cake. That is what red velvet is all about. So at times you see people, they just, form the normal vanilla cake batter, then they add red food coloring. No, that is not red velvet. Red velvet has to be, complete and velvety when it comes to the recipe. So there must be buttermilk in that recipe. At times, if you don't want to use buttermilk, because I noticed a lot of people, when it comes to that buttermilk, they don't want it. You can also replace it with yogurt if you want, but there must be buttermilk or something sour in that recipe, if I must say. Buttermilk must be there, your cocoa powder or chocolate must be there, then your red food color must be there. There is a day someone came to my bakery, and when I was baking my red velvet cake, she was like, wow, so this is how they do it. I told her yes, and she was like, wow, where she learned, they used to add onga and a lot of things to the recipe to just make the cake red. I was like, wow, are you for real? And I told her, you're not baking right, so watch me as I bake my perfect red velvet cake. And that day she watched me all through, and at the end of the day we achieved a very lovely result. And she was like, wow, so red velvet cake can be this easy to bake. It's not difficult to bake. I have a lot of red velvet cake recipes, from the oil base to the margarine base to the butter base. You will see different recipes. Then if you also want to learn my one-on-one recipes, as in the ones I teach online, you can come to me and learn that perfect red velvet cake recipe. You don't need to beat around the bush. It's so easy to achieve. So I want to talk about this major issue people face a lot, especially bakers face, when they are baking their red velvet cake. At times they say, oh, the recipe queen, my red velvet cake, the down part is brown, the up part is red. Oh, the recipe queen, my red velvet cake is so dark. Oh, the recipe queen, I have a lot of dots on my red velvet cake. What could be the cause? Oh, the recipe queen, there is this hole and all that and all that. These are issues. These are the things a lot of bakers face on daily basis. I'm going to talk about this particular issue that is like a general issue that lots of bakers face whenever they bake their red velvet cake. You see that discoloration, the up part might be red, the down part might be brown. What causes this? Number one cause is high heat. That's high oven temperature. Red velvet cakes are supposed to be baked with low or moderate oven temperature. That's low heat, because at times when you put your cakes in an oven so when it comes to heat, the heat is high. At the end of the day, because of the things that happen in there, all those chemical reactions and all that, you see your cakes having two colors, the brown and the red part. So if you want to bake a perfect red velvet cake, make sure you're using a low heat. So for people that use ovens that where it comes to you read in centigrade, at least when you bake with 100 or 120 degrees centigrade, it's fine. But I don't see you baking with 240, 250, 300, 360 and you're getting that perfect red velvet. If it's not dry, it might burn. If it doesn't burn, you might get that color thing, that's in that discoloration might be there. So to avoid all that, make sure you bake with your low oven heat. 120 degrees centigrade is fine, 100 degrees centigrade is fine. Then if you're using the Fahrenheit, at least 240 degree Fahrenheit is okay. 250, 260 is perfect. Even 200, as low as 200 if you want, is still fine. So that is it about oven temperature. Then another thing that also causes that is when you're baking with cocoa powder, you should know the quantity of cocoa powder you're adding. You see some people when they're baking their red velvet cakes, they add so much cocoa powder as if they're baking the normal brown chocolate cake. No, you're supposed to like reduce, you're supposed to reduce the quantity of your cocoa powder. When it comes to this cocoa powder, we have the regular cocoa powder and we have the Dutch processed cocoa powder, that is the dark cocoa powder. So all these things, you're supposed to put them into consideration. When it comes to the regular, let's say you're baking with 2 cups of flour and you want to use regular cocoa powder, 1 tablespoon is okay, fine. Then if you want to use Dutch process, you can reduce to like half tablespoon because that one is darker. So if you bake the same amount or the same quantity as if you're baking with regular cocoa, you do it the same way, at the end of the day you might have a very dark red velvet cake and you might not like it. So when it comes to your cocoa powder, reduce the quantity of your cocoa powder, especially when you're baking with the Dutch process, that the dark type of cocoa powder that some people call it the local cocoa powder. So that is it about the cocoa powder. Then when it comes to your red food color, most people don't know how to use their red food color. You see some people, they just little, and at the end of the day they won't have that red velvet cake color. You are supposed to know the quantity you're supposed to use for every size of cake you're making, the size of red velvet cake you're making. You'll see my channel, then look out for my red velvet cake recipes. You see the quantity you need. You also need to use the right red food color. What are you baking with? As for me, I bake with the Excellent Blend red velvet food color powder, and it works for me perfectly. So you can convert it to your liquid food color if you want. You can use it dry. You can add it to your flour, to your sugar, whatever, and you can still use it anyhow you want it and it will turn out well. But the thing is that know the particular quantity you need for every time you want to bake your red velvet cake. So I think this is one of the main issues a lot of bakers face when it comes to red velvet cake. That discoloration thing, their color not being the same or getting blended and all that. Then another thing you need to do is always make sure you line your pans. Don't bake with pan just like that. Maybe you get your pan, grease it, then flour it out, then put your red velvet cake. But at the end of the day, when the cake is baked and you flip it over, you will see maybe that base might not have that red color. But if you put your parchment paper or your baking paper down in the pan, when that cake comes out, wow, the color is like wow. People will be like, wow, this is it. When you're peeling it, if you follow me, you see that there's this joy whenever I'm peeling off my parchment paper or my baking paper whenever I bake my red velvet cake. Oh wow, everything is blended and so beautiful. So that is it. Always don't do shortcut or it's expensive. How much are they paying me? Why must I add? You have to also charge them. If you want to use the parchment paper, also factor into your costing, and you need to do all this. So with these points I have raised, there is no how you can apply all those things and you won't bake a perfect red velvet cake. So I guess I've talked so much today. Till next time I come your way, I still remain your favorite baker, the recipe queen, but make sure you're baking right. Do not bake anyhow. Stop baking anyhow. Start baking right today. Bye.